Hey, this is Jade and Simone, and this is the Twinsetters podcast.
The Twinsetters podcast covers everything from girl talk to girl boss. We use our life experiences and passions to inspire purpose in others.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Twinsetters podcast. I know for me, when we're finally back on video, it's something to get dressed up for, to do my hair for, and those opportunities are limited these days. So excited to be back and, have a reason to be cute.
We really, truly would love to film every episode, but the way our lives are set up, y'all gonna have to take what we can give, okay?
Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
That's just where we're at right
because, because we have to do so much to prepare for an episode life-wise that sometimes it's like, look, we ain't got the 2 hours before to do hair, makeup, all of that. But either way, here we are this week and excited to get into a really good topic. Yes. So this week's episode is something really good. I personally think it's something that a lot of people want to know more about Jade. And so this week's episode is entitled, I Didn't Always Get a Check for This. But before we get into this episode, we have to give a moment to our beauty faves of the week. So Jade, what's your favorite thing you have on right now?
So, since we're on video today, I can actually show y'all the product that I'm obsessed with right now, which is this Giorgio Armani Neo Nude True to Skin Natural Glow Foundation. I wear the shade 9.
Wow, that is a long name.
I know.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Jade. I was like waiting for you to say, is it a foundation? Is it a
Y'all know
eyeshadow?
how these brands are. They like to just throw in a lot of words to describe a foundation because it's hard to recreate the wheel. And honestly, we've got foundations, we've got concealers, we've got all these things. So anyway, I'm going to refer to this foundation as the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude Foundation because it is truly a skin-like foundation. So it comes off like the formula really sheer, but you can actually build up coverage with this. So I really love it because I'm a no makeup type of look type of girl, and so usually I'm looking for foundation that's going to just give me a little bit of coverage to just balance my skin tone out, especially this time of year where you're tanned, you're losing your tan, you're gaining more tan, like your complexion is just, the color is changing so much. So I love this because it's really nice and it's like a base layer but super thin to where I don't feel like I have it on. So I'm loving this right now.
Love that. I love a good sheer lightweight skin-like foundation. I got Skin Deep. Is that the one, Jade? Skin Deep?
No,
gosh,
that
I've used it for forever.
That was Lancome.
But it's the Skin Feels Good.
Oh, Skin Feel Good. That's
Octinoxate sunscreen. Oh no, just kidding. That's not the description. Hydrating skin tint, healthy glow, hydraulic acid, all kinds of good stuff.
Did you just say hydraulic acid?
Is it hydraulic?
It's hyaluronic acid.
I
just said hydraulic.
Clearly, I don't read out loud a lot of these.
We need to put that on a t-shirt.
Cosmetic.
Hydraulic acid.
Oh my.
Hashtag.
Look, is that a thing? What is hydraulic acid? I think I'm talking about hydraulics like in a car.
Yes, Simone. Okay.
Here's the
Hyaluronic
thing.
acid is a moisturizing ingredient that's used in skincare products and makeup.
Look. I bet 9 people out of 10 people can't say these words in real life. Do I read it and understand what it is? Sure. Don't judge me. I feel like a lot of people have done that. All right. I am not alone. But anyway, and sad, I can't say half of these words. But either way, this is also a good one. It is not my beauty fave of the week, only because I don't have it on right now. But my beauty fave of the week is actually, I actually don't know what it is. I actually didn't choose one yet.
What?
So even though usually when we're on film, we talk about makeup stuff, and I'll usually save like a hair thing for non-video, but I had to talk about this hair because this is you guys notice, obviously I have a few extra inches that I did the last video. And this is actually an eye tip install that my sister, not Jade, Madison, did this past weekend. And I will show you guys. I will mess up my curl just for y'all. But y'all know that this is a pretty, can be an expensive service. But basically, let's find a couple little tips here. Hold on. I'll get there. You see these little things? She basically put these little tips all through my head. And if you guys follow my personal Instagram, you know that I've had this done before. So we kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into. But Madison did them for me. We basically just watched a bunch of YouTube videos and put them all in my head. I would not recommend doing this by yourself if you like don't know anything about hair. But if you've like done your own sew-ins in the past, or you kind of know about hair health and you know about, how not to mess a bead up in your head because it can get, tangled, and like you literally have to rip out your hair if you get like a bead all meshed up in your hair. But if you kind of know hair health and you can kind of do your own wigs and things like that, as I fix my curl here, you can do this. I would just say get a friend to help you, get a sister to help you. But this whole head took us like 7.5 hours. It was a long day.
Hold on. Wait,
yeah,
what?
we did this.
Y'all spent almost 8 hours doing that?
We did, because it's all in my head. It's a lot. It's all throughout my entire head except for the top. Yeah, it took all day. Wow. But it was so worth it because these things stay in for like months on end. We'll sort of collaborate to make sure when they need to get pushed up, we'll do it together. But I feel like this is definitely a style that I've been wanting to get back for a long time. I'm happy I figured out how to have Madison do it because it's expensive. And I already know like what hair to get and stuff. So it's like it's hard for me to pay a certain amount of money for my hair to get done because I do my own color. I color these extensions. We just do everything
ourselves when it comes to beauty. Yeah, like, that's just how we've always been.
Very DIY people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at the end of the day, we love doing hair. We love playing in hair. So it's like, I mean, it's not far-fetched that you figured out a way to do your own, what are they called?
Look. Eye tips. They're so good. Yes. DIY eye tips. And that's actually been like, I think becoming more popular, people doing it themselves. I will say, obviously, disclaimer, like it can get intense. So if you don't know anything about doing your hair, if you don't want your natural hair out, don't do it to yourself. But if you kind of have been eyeing them for a while, maybe you don't have the budget to do it, but you feel confident that like you can put a few in, practice on a few in front of your head to see how it looks. I say go for it. There's a lot of great textures in eye tips these days. You can get kinky curly hair in eye tips. You can get blown out kinky hair. You can get curly. Like I got like an Indian curly, so it matches my curl texture. Quite frankly, if I wanted to wear my hair curly all the time and I didn't have blonde, it's beautiful. I mean, just look on Instagram, do hashtag eye tip extensions. There's so many beautiful like curly girls doing it now. And it's because, traditionally eye tips were only made in like a very straight, very like Euro texture. Yeah. And now they're being made in all textures. So I definitely love them. They're super lightweight. It doesn't hurt. You can take them out with like a pinch of a plier. It's super nice. Okay. Yeah, it's super nice. Definitely my favorite install.
We definitely are going to need the like removal process breakdown. So in a future episode, you'll need to remember to let people know like, how do you take these out without ripping your hair out? Because I definitely have heard that if you don't install eye tips the right way, you can really do some damage. So you'll have to keep us in the loop.
Let's move on to the actual episode of this week, which is I didn't know I would be getting a check for this. And really this conversation is going to be a lot about how Jade transitioned from just doing this YouTube thing as like a fun way to express herself, how to show other women what she's doing at home, which is really just her showing her friends what she's doing at home to her hair, to now making six figures and really being an advocate for other creators getting that check. And so we're going to talk to Jade about what it takes to kind of make that transition and, some of the lessons she's learned along the way. We just had a big moment on Fenty Beauty, okay, that she had to wait a couple years to get on. And that's what kind of triggered this conversation because Jade, you told me about how like you weren't necessarily working directly with them for a while, but obviously had posted about their products. And I thought that was a good example of even when you are getting checks, like, there are ways and times where maybe the partnership is more important than just getting the check. Yes. And so let's talk about all of that stuff this week.
Yeah, so I'm excited to kind of dive into this today because I think that this conversation a lot of times is very singular in the sense of, brands paying influencers and what that's about. Yep. And how much an influencer should charge said brand, right? Like we have those types of conversations a lot. But the other part of it is that when do you decide in a real life space when to accept money versus when to accept maybe exposure or the collaboration relationship without the check? When is it okay? Yep. When does it make sense? When does it not make sense? Because like you said, I'm huge on getting creators paid, period. Like the amount of work that it takes to do what we do is so undervalued because so much of the work is unseen. You see the final product as the person that's an audience member, but for the creator, it came from blank to something, or it went from blank to something. And so there's a process for that. And so, it's like this whole narrative of like starving artists, right? And like how artistic people have to find alternative ways to make money because their art can't, sustain them. Or you have to be poor in order to be an artist. And so it's like that sort of kind of energy as well in the influencer space. It's like people don't know what to charge. People are charging too much. Right. People are charging not enough. And then there's all these different metrics and just expectations from client to client, truth be told. Like I work with a lot of different brands all the time, and one thing that is for sure is that every single brand is different. There are some brands that come correct every single time, are valuing you very high, and are sometimes offering you more than your own fee. So you start to, feel like, oh, wow, like they're offering me more than I even would have initially asked for. Okay, I'll accept it. But that means that if they offered you double your fee before you even gave your rate, like they told you what they had budget wise, that means you're charging not enough to all of your other brand partners. Like if that starts happening like frequently, one or two, okay, maybe, budgets are bigger depending on the size of the brand and there's all these things that come into play with that, right? But if you're seeing a trend happening where brands are continuously offering you set amount and it's around the same range, that's how you can kind of figure like, okay, depending on what I want to do. Because at the end of the day, like, if you want your fee to be a certain number, like, no one can tell you that that's not your fee. That's the other power of being your own boss. It's like you set
because tone. You can create content. Yeah, you can create content with whatever you want. And you don't necessarily have to work with a brand to be the creative you want to be online, right? Like, yes, it would be awesome if you could make a check for every single thing. But I can imagine there's a world where, like, just like hairstylist, my fee is my fee. And if you don't want to pay me my fee, then you can go get your hair done by someone else.
Simple as that.
And I feel like for creatives, it's the same, right? Like if you have quality content, you know who you're speaking to, your group, your community, F's with you, brands notice it. If they can't come correct, then, it is what it is. Now, granted, I think to Jade's point, like there's got to be points where you bend, and Jade will talk more about, what are some of her qualifiers of when she bends or not. But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I think a lot of us feel, especially when we're younger, that we don't necessarily know how to negotiate.
Yeah, and that comes into
I know
play.
I barely know how to negotiate. That's a whole thing.
Yes.
That's a class at Wharton I'm trying to take, negotiation, because I didn't learn negotiation really at any point in life other than maybe like here or there, but it's a real skill, and these brands know how to do it well. And so you got to know how to do it well too.
Either you need to know how to do it well, or your team, whoever is representing you, needs to do it well.
Somebody.
And so, you know, it takes a bit of knowledge of just, you know, if you can talk to other creators that are around your same demographic, same size, and you're asking them like, hey, you know, would you be willing to share some of what you've been booked for? There's pages on Instagram now that are anonymous, but sharing, you know, what type of fees. I think one of them is
oh, that's amazing.
Influencer.
I didn't know that.
I think is the Instagram page. But yeah, there are, you know, pages like that that are popping up that are kind of showing some transparency, because budgets do fluctuate, budgets do change across the board. I've heard of instances where people found out that, you know, white creators were getting paid double what they were getting paid as a black creator. And you know what? Unfortunately, I don't think it's just because you're a black creator versus a white creator. In most situations, they asked for more, their team negotiated for more, and they had confidence in that.
Well, before we move on from that, you mentioned, Jade, how like, you know, maybe the white creator asked for more or their team asked for more. And you mentioned a little bit before that how you either need to negotiate or your team, somebody on your team needs to negotiate. Do you feel like a lot of people have a team? Do a lot of creators have teams? I get the sense that they don't, but I don't know. What do you see?
I think that many do. If you're speaking to like larger audience creators, so people who have 100K.
And what do you mean by large audience? Oh, okay.
People who have 100K or more have usually a team of some sort, even if that's just their mom who answers the emails on their behalf as their manager. You know, like when you get to
which is nothing wrong with that.
Right. So
nothing wrong with that. I feel like I would be a damn good manager for Kaya. Her YouTube is coming soon.
Yes. And so you have to have assistance because sometimes it's hard as a creator to play the bad guy in negotiations, especially if you are creating the content and you're doing multiple projects at one time. Not only you may not have the headspace to go back and forth, but you also may just not like want to or have the energy to because you have other things to do.
Well, that's not your strong suit, right?
Well, it doesn't
like
have
you're
to,
the creative. You want to like create art.
It's not about it not being someone's strong suit. It's about the person deciding what they actually want to spend their time doing. Like as a creator, I'm very good at negotiating. I have no problems negotiating. But do I want to spend my time doing that instead of creating? Absolutely not.
Right.
So that's why I have to have assistance to make sure that, you know, emails are getting responded to promptly, that we are having people, you know, an extra set of eyes look over every single contract, that we have legal who is part of, you know, my agency provides a legal counsel. So I have lawyers looking at my stuff, and that all happens without me even having to be involved. I only see an offer at 2 points. That's initial interest, and potentially I'll get an idea of like what budget they're working with or what they're offering first. And then when I get my official offer from my manager that says, this is the offer, this is the final fee, do you want to do this, yes or no? Those are the only times I'm communicating with the brand. And once that contract is signed, then I'll start, you know, getting on calls with the brand to talk about the campaign, or setting up time for me to review a creative brief, whatever those next steps are to get the project completed. That's what I'm going to do. And that's when I'll have more communication with the brand. But before then, before the project actually starts, I don't communicate with the brand at all. Even when brands reach out via DM on Instagram or wherever else, I'm automatically sending them to my management. Not because I'm too good and I don't talk to people. It's because we have to streamline everything business-wise to make sure that the right set of eyes are seeing everything, that I have the backup, like that I have people that literally are watching my back and making sure that I'm getting my value and my worth. So that's something that I highly, highly suggest if you are a creator who's trying to really do this, because at my level, everyone I know has support. Everyone. Because you seriously cannot do this by yourself forever. Like, you can't. And
do you feel like that's almost the gateway into getting to the point where, you know, you're doing this full time, making like very good money, where you're comfortable, is really like the moment you sort of add that team, you have that extra set of help that can accelerate your options?
It's not even, there's like a certain point that you have to get to before you know. It's literally whenever you need the support, whenever you feel like you're at capacity in a real way, you feel like you're getting so much work that it's like, okay, now I'm getting to a point where I'm working as hard as I can and I still can't keep up with the amount of demand out there for me. So that's one way. And then the other thing is too, if you want to increase the amount of work that you get, you need someone else to be pitching you. You need someone else to be bringing your name up in the room. You need somebody to be advocating on your behalf. And so when you sign with an agency, the other benefit of that is that they are part of a larger group of talent managers that can communicate with each other and usually know the ins and conversations of brands who, you know, one talent manager may find out about a campaign coming to play, you know, before my manager. And so they may say, hey, this brand is doing this launch. I think Jade would be a great fit for it. Do you want the information? I can send them your information. Like, stuff like that happens so much. And so outside of that, you need to have help that has some sort of relationship with brands that you want to work with, or understands how to navigate that space, because it's all about relationship building. Just like any other business, you have to know people and you have to know, like, build that rapport with people to where they think of you when they're working on a project. And especially with agencies who are representing different talent who are working with different brands to execute other campaigns, they're building relationships with the people at the brands and the agencies. So it's like you can benefit from that if you sign on with an agency. And obviously an agency takes their cut as well. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day. This wasn't supposed to be all about management, but I wanted to just say that.
But I think it's a natural progression. I think it's a natural progression because it is such a big part of what's been helping you sort of get these larger deals, for you to actually get the checks that you deserve. It's not just advocating for yourself, because what you're saying is, it can't just be only you tooting your own horn.
If you want to do this by yourself, you can. It's possible. It's just easier if you have support. That's all I'm saying. It's not impossible.
That makes sense.
But you need to, if you really want to have work-life balance, you need support.
So we've been talking about, you know, knowing people in the industry and how those relationships are so important to you being successful in this like influencer creative world. But recently you got a little spotlight on the Fenty Beauty page, but that wasn't something that you had necessarily like had a contract for or like whatever. So I wanted to talk about that because you were hella excited about that.
I have been getting PR from Fenty for probably like 2 years. And I was also on the PR list for Fenty Skin. So I have been receiving products from them, but never actually secured a paid opportunity with them until now. And so it was actually crazy because that brand is, well, Fenty Beauty and now Fenty Skin, but Fenty Beauty, I had been creating content for free. I was getting products, but I was also buying Fenty as well to complete certain looks. And I had spent all that time creating content for free, basically for them, because down to even, I made it a conscious effort to only use Fenty products in the videos that I was making, because I wanted them to repost me so bad. And I wanted them to notice me, and I wanted them to know that like I was a huge fan of the brand and I wanted to work, because obviously I work with brands that I love, and they're one of the brands that I love. So it was so awesome to get reached out to whenever Fenty Skin dropped, to not only be one of the first to try out the products, but I also was offered a paid opportunity, and I was like, hey, come on, Fenty Skin. So I was super excited because I was like, okay, if Fenty Skin knows who I am and is down to pay me, like Fenty Beauty, like, come on, like, where y'all at? So literally, I mean, not even like a week or two later, maybe, I got the offer for Fenty Beauty to do their Brow MVP wax campaign. When Fenty Beauty reposted me, I was like, like,
well, that's
it
huge.
was crazy because actually Fenty Skin, well, Fenty Skin had reposted me, so like maybe the week before. So I was like, oh my gosh, like Fenty Skin reposted me too, and so I was excited about that. I was lit. But then whenever they reposted my Brow MVP wax video, I was like, hold on, what? Like, this is like something I've been really, really, you know, trying to manifest for the past 2 years. So yeah, that was definitely a proud moment.
Well, and I think it kind of like, I don't know, for me, it made me think about how, you know, other people from the outside looking in can see that, you know, you're getting paid for gigs, you're being shouted out on different things, on different platforms, but at the same time, like, there's still like brands that you aspire to be connected with, that you aspire to want to be working with, and there's nothing wrong with you sort of making those decisions for yourself to say, hey, this is the moment where I'm going to create the content because I want to sort of show this brand before we get a chance to maybe work directly together that I'm here for them. I want my audience to know about them. I love their products. And that doesn't, like, I think a lot of people start out that way, where before they get a paid opportunity, they create content with their favorite products. And the point is that at any stage of your career, you can still do that. Just because you get 1 or 2 checks doesn't mean you can no longer create content that is just for a brand that you want to work with. You know, I think sometimes you can kind of get in this idea of, well, if you're not going to get a check, then I'm not going to do the work. But there's still parts of it that are like aspirational. And so if you want to work with a brand and they haven't offered you a partnership yet, put yourself out there to show that you know how to use a product and you want to showcase it in the right way. And it opens up an opportunity for them to see you, for them to be aware that you exist, and hopefully create a partnership with you.
So to go back to our title of this episode, I didn't always get a check for this. And I still don't always get a check for this. There are times where, like the Fenty situation, I just love the brand, and my investment in that, you know, path to working with them was creating beautiful content on my own, in the likeness that I know that would attract them, in the way that I know would be similar to their own aesthetic, and going from there and just waiting, you know, being patient, knowing that at some point this is gonna work in my favor in a monetary way, but at the same time still feeling, you know, excited to have the freedom to create the content without any strings attached too, you know, like that's one thing, a benefit to just, you know, maybe being on a PR list instead of actually getting a paid op, is that you start to build your toolkit, your toy kit of products where you can just freely use all these different things that maybe you wouldn't have bought on your own, and seeing how you like certain things versus other things. And that's a whole process in itself that's very beneficial to creating content for free and not getting a check. Once you find that you are being approached to create content for branding purposes, for marketing assets for another brand, that's when you start to ask yourself, should I be charging? Am I okay with not charging? Am I okay with saying no if they don't give me the deal with money attached? Like, you gotta ask yourself those questions, because you're gonna have to start saying no more than yes. But in the long run, it's so important to you maintaining the integrity of your work and not getting burnt out and not feeling used and abused by all these different brands because you took on too much free work and didn't establish that there was a threshold brands have to meet fee-wise before they can gain access to you and the art that you create. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Let us know if you have any questions. I know we kind of talked about a lot of different things when it comes to just like this whole idea of like whether you do content for free or for money and what that feels like for me in this season of my life. But definitely if there's anything in particular about the path that we kind of loosely ran today on this episode, let us know and we'd be happy to integrate your questions into another episode or do a whole part 2 of this episode. Y'all let us know. We want to continue utilizing you all in our creative process, in our brainstorming sessions as to what you all want us to talk about, and then taking that and making it our own. So we so appreciate the feedback and the engagement y'all have been giving us. It's been so amazing, super bomb to just like connect with y'all. Yes, on like a whole new level with this podcast. So definitely keep in touch with us on social, and we will chat in our next episode.